Don't worry, I won't sing. My name is Malcolm Hoenlein. I'm the CEO of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations. Thank you. And a Brooklynite. I want to thank the sponsors. As someone who did this many times for Soviet Jewry and Syrian Jewry and all the other causes, I know how difficult it is, and they deserve a real round of applause to have pulled this together in such a short time. And a special thank you to the NYPD, who are all around us today and throughout the year, standing to protect our community. We are here to deal with a global pandemic. It's an epidemic that crosses oceans and boundaries and linguistic differences, geographic differences. And there is no cure for it, except when good people stand up and say, no more, no more. We're not going to tolerate it anymore. Not from anyone. No more excuses, no more exceptions. Everyone held to account. I never would have thought that I would receive calls as I did this week from leaders of Jewish communities around the world, the ones for whom we fight for every day to protect their security against oppressive regimes, and they called to express solidarity with New York Jews. They were worried about us. We are Am Echad B'Lev Echad, one people with one heart, who stand together. When any one of us is in danger, all of us are in danger. But we remember also that their message was that if it can happen in New York and they can get away with it, we will all become the victims. So this is an effort not just for us, but it is for the Jewish people around the world. We also know that anti-Semitism doesn't stop with the Jews. We are the first victims, but never the last. Hate destroys societies. Every country that threw out the Jews paid a heavy price. Their economies collapsed, their societies collapsed. So when we rally here today, it is not just for the Jewish community or for New York. It is for America and America's future and the world's future that we stand up today together. It's for our children and our grandchildren and their security. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. This month is the commemoration of the 75th anniversary. 75 years ago, the world said they didn't know. We know it was a lie. They didn't want to know. The Allies had broken the Nazi codes. They knew every day how many Jews were being killed, but they didn't want the world to know. Today, we will have no cloak of ignorance to hide our shame when your grandchildren and their children ask, what did you do? You knew everything. You turn on the television, cable television, you go on the internet, you know everything. There will be no cloak of ignorance, real or imagined. So we have to today, in the aftermath of 80 years since the Holocaust, when we thought this was past, when we thought this was an ism that was relegated to history, to see it rise again, to see the Inquisitions, the expulsions, the pogroms, they learned nothing from the degradation of the Jews, takes a heavy toll on all. It comes back in different forms, but with the same end. Jews paid the price, but so did every society. And everybody has a responsibility today to counter this disease. Political leaders, clergy, educators, academics, entertainers, internet companies, judges, and prosecutors. All must be held to account to do the right thing to stop this cancer from metastasizing. It took Hitler months to spread the big lie. On the internet, it's done in seconds. So we must hold those companies to account to stop allowing these vicious websites, anti-Semitic websites that incite and bring about the results that we have seen. It is time to declare no more Jew hatred. It stops now. No excuses, no exceptions, not from the left, not from the right, not from any sector. It's time to declare never again. Never again is a pledge each of us must take, every one of us, Jew and non-Jew alike, that we will never allow what happened before to happen again. And when we see the signs as we have now, we will join together as you have, coming out on this Sunday morning and declaring to the world, never again will Jews be standing alone. Never allow anyone to be put in danger. Jews and non-Jews alike must take this pledge and educate our kids. This is a critical moment in our history. We must not let the cause of Jew hatred to be forgotten. We cannot allow the revolving door of justice to allow those who perpetrate the crimes to walk out hours after they commit them, only to commit further crimes again. It's time to criminalize Jew hatred. Don't call it anti-Semitism. It's an antiseptic term meant to diminish it. It's Jew hatred. The hatred of the Jewish people because of who we are, of our values, of our Torah, of what we stand for. That was the enemy, not because anybody did anything wrong. And we have communities today that are paying the price. And we stand in identity with them. And we are privileged to have with us a representative of that community, somebody who has become a dynamic and articulate spokesman for the Orthodox community, a leader of the Flatbush Jewish Community Coalition and many, many other organizations. He is a recognized leader and activist. He is an articulate spokesman who represents the perspectives of this very important sector of our people to leaders and to public officials who seek his input and his advice. It's really a privilege for me to introduce to you Roscoe Bennett.
Thank you, Malcolm. I stand here with tremendous pain and with a heavy heart. It is my identifiable Orthodox Jewish community that has recently come under attack more than any other. Despite us desperately sounding the alarm, until today, we really have not seen nearly enough sympathy or understanding for this sad reality, even from some of our own. Though I am not Hasidic, my heart beats as one with the blood of our Hasidic community. Their voices have been mostly silenced and marginalized. I am here for them also. Be it in Muncie, Jersey City, Williamsburg, Borough Park, or Crown Heights and Williamsburg right over here. Let there be no mistake. Let there be no mistake. It is identifiable Hasidic and Orthodox Jews that have predominantly been the victims of the escalating anti-Semitic violence we are protesting today. This violence didn't happen in a vacuum. It is the product and outgrowth of years of unchecked bias, prejudice, and misunderstanding. I am gratified, deeply gratified, to see many of you standing here today in solidarity against hate and fear. It is encouraging, long overdue, and yes, the right thing. I thank the organizers for bringing us together. Attending today is a recognition that something is dramatically wrong. We all know it. If recent events teach us anything, it is that we need to do a lot more to prevent, listen carefully, to prevent the bashing and bigotry directed at Hasidim. Though they may look different, Hasidim are your neighbors, your co-workers, your friends, and contributing citizens of this great country. They are human beings and deserving of equal treatment and our respect. They are no different than you and me. Also important to note, anti-Semitism comes in many shapes and forms and from many sources. Of course, it is dramatic and heinous crimes in Pittsburgh, Poway, Jersey City, and Muncie that grab the media and society's attention. But for every large-scale attack and high-profile incident, there are dozens of random attacks on identifiable Jews that barely register. You might not even be aware that there were numerous anti-Semitic attacks right here in Brooklyn, just between the Jersey City and the Muncie attacks. Knockdowns, rock throwing, and the random cursing at Jews is tragically becoming the norm. It is outrageous, and it is unacceptable for us, and must be unacceptable for you. Also unacceptable, and listen carefully, is the attacks on our Orthodox religious curriculum and yeshivas. This is an organized effort to devaluate this vital educational system by a vocal minority who may be here today professing to care about anti-Semitic prejudice. These well-funded and coordinated attacks sow the seeds of hatred and animosity towards Hasidim and the larger Orthodox world. Their efforts are as dangerous to the safety and well-being of my community as the threats we are rallying against today. My friends, you can't march against bigotry here today while permitting certain forms of bigotry tomorrow. It simply doesn't work. Anti-Orthodox antagonists are using social media to spread the most vile and despicable anti-Hasidic bigotry online. These hateful smears are shared, liked, retweeted, unabated. There is a very strong belief of a direct connection between the online hatred aimed at Orthodox Jews and the dramatic increase in violence against Hasidim. It is this hatred that manifests in increasing danger against our children, our neighborhoods, and our institutions. We all must call out and protest those responsible and lies that host it. There must be an end to denying Orthodox Jews their civil and religious rights. Jews, whatever they want, free of bigotry and free of intolerance. Elected officials assembled here and all across our great state and country must speak up better to protect our growing Orthodox communities all across the region and identify anti-Semitic discrimination wherever and whenever they see it. The same is true for all communities. We all must demand that. We need their voice. And ladies and gentlemen, we need your voice. Jews in America have always lived in a tolerant and welcoming society. It is our hope and fervent prayer to the Almighty that we work together towards shared goals and combat hateful bigotry and intolerance of all people. Make no mistake, our future depends on it. Thank you for listening.
I'm Cheryl Fishbein. I'm the president of JCRC of New York, and I welcome you here. And I would like to thank, first of all, Michael Miller, the CEO, and Eric Goldstein, the CEO of UJA Federation of New York, and their amazing professional staff for making today possible. They're out there among you. They're wearing the gorgeous, stylish vests. Please thank them when you see them. They've been working very hard so that we could come together in solidarity today. And today, it gives me great pleasure to introduce someone from the next generation. We've got Blake Flayton right here, a sophomore at George Washington University, who is an activist against anti-Semitism on campus. So thank you, Blake.
My name is Blake Flayton, and I'm a proud, unapologetic Jewish college student. I am here today to lend my voice to the fight against Jewish hatred of all kinds, the violent Jew hatred that leaves us with broken bones and broken bodies, but also the Jew hatred that dehumanizes us, that isolates us, that smears us, and that leaves us with scars that others can't always see. The anti-Semitism I confront regularly and increasingly on my college campus is not violent, but it is political and psychological. And it makes a space where anti-Semitism can flourish wider and wider until violence and discrimination become justifiable. This breed of anti-Semitism must also be condemned. Insidious hatred of Jewish people on college campuses should not be downplayed. I am a young, progressive student. And yet, I have been called a baby killer and a genocide apologist by my peers and classmates. I have lost friends on my campus. I am kept out of campus organizations, all because I am a Jew who refuses to disavow any part of my identity. And I am not unique, far from it. On college campuses across North America, Jewish students are being targeted every single day. Students are silencing their Jewish classmates at club meetings and school-wide events. They are denying Jewish students kosher food, forcing them to resign their leadership positions, ripping Israeli flags off of walls, watering down their condemnations of anti-Semitism, and getting into physical altercations with us. They are protesting our events and our speakers. They are intentionally revising the history of the Jewish people and knowingly politicizing our safety. And if we do speak up, if we do stand up for ourselves, it is we who are slandered as the oppressors. I am here to say enough is enough. I'm here to say to my fellow college students, insist on kosher food. Demand inclusion in clubs. Run for leadership position. Hold your student governments accountable. Hang Israeli flags. Host Shabbat dinners. Wear your kippot and Megan Davids. And come out as proud Jews. Jewish students must be the face of this movement, and I'm here representing the LGBTQ Jewish student movement. We are the future leaders of this community, and our time is now. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Amy Bressman, and I am the very proud president of UJA Federation. It is absolutely incredible to stand with all of you in this historic moment and to hear from leaders across our Jewish community and our New York community more broadly. We are all saying together, no to hate and no to fear. Next up, I'd like to introduce Eric Ward, Executive Director of the Western State Center, a Portland-based group working nationwide for an inclusive democracy. Eric is the author of Skin in the Game, a seminal look at the anti-Semitic roots of white nationalism. It's a pleasure to introduce you, Eric.
Hello, New York City. Hello, New York State. Hello, America. I'm here today because the Jewish community has always been at the forefront of the fight against to save the lives of refugees fleeing persecution. Leaders and activists who identify as Jewish have never ignored or abandoned America's most vulnerable. And Judaism's call to heal the world, Tikkun Olam, is ever present for those of us committed to communities where everyone can live, love, and work free from bigotry. You have stood with the civil rights movement, and this is our time to stand with you. I'm not here to tell you today, don't be angry. I'm standing here in anger as well. I'm not here today to convince you that one form of anti-Semitism is less important than another form. I'm here to affirm that it's time to stop tolerating all forms of anti-Jewish bigotry, whoever it comes from. This isn't a time for nuance. Too many precious lives have been lost and destroyed. Anti-Semitism isn't a partisan issue, and it's not a question of theology or international affairs. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, and regardless of your religion or your views on the Middle East, anti-Semitism should look the same to all of us. It looks the same in Monsey as it does in Poway and in Pittsburgh, and it must be condemned each and every time, even when it's inconvenient. Anti-Semitism is hate, plain and simple. It's what we're here to rally against today. And while I'm not Jewish, I've seen and experienced my share of hate. As a black male who has spent years tracking white nationalists, often in close quarters, I was struck by the foundational role of anti-Semitism in the racist movements that hate me because of the color of my skin. The violent anti-Semitic worldview of the white nationalist movement has taken lives not only of Jews, but American blacks, Latinos, Sikhs, Muslims, and immigrants from Oak Creek to Charleston, from Chapel Hill to El Paso. Not everyone may realize it or like it, but people of color and Jews and everyone who opposes bigotry have to understand we are all in this together. And it's time for those of us who aren't Jewish to act like it. That means confronting hate with our shared values, not our partisan ideology. And here, It may be a hard pill to swallow, but hate groups, whether white or black, don't bring anti-Semitism into our communities. They simply organize the bigotry that already exists. Playing on anti-Semitism works because, like racism, it exists throughout our society, not just in bad people on the other team, but among each of us as well. And like with sexism, we must be hyper-vigilant against it, wherever and whenever it rears its ugly head. No one gets a pass. Anti-Semitism may not always come with a yellow star, but it is still deadly, as we witnessed throughout the past Hanukkah. It is also seeded by our silence and apathy. If we want to truly understand why anti-Semitism is growing, we must be brave enough to hold a mirror to ourselves and as courageous in holding that mirror as we are pointing our fingers at others. This is particularly true for those of us who aren't Jewish. We have seen enough headlines and bloodshed to know that anti-Semitic rhetoric leads to anti-Semitic violence. And if we don't confront it, it will lead to more. Confronting it requires a civil rights movement for the 21st century that sees combating anti-Semitism as one of the priorities alongside racism, Islamophobia, misogyny, and other forms of bigotry. My time is short here today, but I want to be clear. It is time to tell politicians no to anti-Semitism. It is time to tell civic leaders no to anti-Semitism. It is time for us to say yes to an inclusive America that creates the space for all of us to strive in opportunity. We get there by forging new paths together and by rejecting the historic bigotries of old, including anti-Semitism. Let us who stand together today commit to this day being our turning point. Let us rise up as a unified and powerful moral voice against intolerance. May we be, as patriotic, fair-minded Americans, unapologetic about demanding an end to the scapegoating of American Jews. May we look back a decade from now and recall how it was here in New York City that we made our stand. Whether we proclaim the Jewish refrain of defiance, never again, or the African-American call for justice that Black Lives Matters, what we mean today is room to breathe, the right to live, love, and work free from bigotry. Our communities deserve no less. I gladly join you today. I hope you will join me today. And I wish you all peace. Shalom.
It is my privilege to also introduce our next speaker, Bari Weiss. This incredible young leader has quickly become a household name, ringing the alarm early and unabashedly on the rise of anti-Semitism in this country. She has inspired us with her consistent call not only to combat hate, but to fight anti-Semitism by being and living Jewishly with pride, by enhancing Jewish education, emphasizing Jewish values, and modeling and engaging in meaningful Jewish lives. Her recently published outstanding book, How to Fight Anti-Semitism, delivers an urgent wake-up call to what is going on in America and how we can combat it. Bari Weiss is a New York Times op-ed staff editor and writer. We are very, very grateful for the way she speaks out for us, and we are very honored to have her here today. Bari.
My name is Bari Weiss. I am a proud American, I am a proud New Yorker, and I am a proud Jew. I am not a Jew because people hate my religion, my people, my civilization. Not for a single moment does Jew hatred make me a Jew. I am a Jew because of the audacity and the iconoclasm of Abraham, the first Jew of all. The whole world was awash in idols and lies, and he stood alone to proclaim the truth. There is one God. I am a Jew because my ancestors were slaves, and because the story of their exodus from Egypt, their liberation from slavery, is a story that changed human consciousness. I am a Jew because our God commands us to never oppress the stranger. I am a Jew because of Ruth, the first convert to Judaism, who said, "Your people will be my people and your God will be my God," reminding us of the centrality of the Jewish people to Judaism. I am a Jew because of Queen Esther, who understood that she had attained her royal position to save her people from destruction. I am a Jew because the Maccabees were the original resistance, because they modeled for us and for all peoples how to resist the temptation of self-erasure. I am a Jew because when Rabbi Akiba was being tortured to death by the Romans, he laughed. He laughed and he told his students he could finally fulfill the commandment to love God with all of his being. I am a Jew because even after the heart of Judaism and Jewish sovereignty were destroyed, my people refused to accept the logic of history and to disappear. I am a Jew because my people has been targeted and despised and murdered by the Nazis and the Soviets. I am a Jew because evil hates my people. I am a Jew because my people managed to turn destruction into redemption by returning to their land after 2,000 years. I am a Jew because the founders of this country saw themselves as the new Israelites. I am a Jew because the words on the Liberty Bell, "Proclaim liberty throughout the land," rang out from the righteous mouths of this country's abolitionists as they fought for universal freedom in the New Jerusalem. I am a Jew because it was Emma Lazarus who etched the biblical injunction to welcome the stranger onto the consciousness of America when she wrote the words, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." I'm a Jew because of the martyrs of Tree of Life and Chabad of Poway and Jersey City. And I am a Jew because of the courage of those who fought back in Muncie and then who immediately after the attack gathered together and sang. I am a Jew because my brothers and sisters in Crown Heights, in Borough Park, and in Williamsburg refuse to hide their Judaism. I am a Jew because of students across this country who refuse to be smeared and denigrated because of who they are, who are standing up against humiliation, pressure, and abuse to affirm the justice of Zionism. I am a Jew because my brothers and sisters in England and France are battling the anti-Semitism of populist thugs and politicians in Parliament. I am a Jew because I refuse to stay silent in the for leaders who speak and tweet boldly but fail to take the actions necessary to protect our community. I am a Jew because I do not stand for partisan hacks who claim that anti-Semitism is the exclusive domain of their political opponents. I am a Jew because I oppose leaders who believe they can fight Jew hatred while making political alliances with anti-Semites. I am a Jew because I refuse to lie. I am a Jew because Jews are of every color, class, politics, and language, and I am a Jew because the hatred of us has no color, no class, no politics, and is of every language. I am a Jew because Jews do not cause Jew hatred, ever. Today, as with so many times in history, there are forces in the world and in this city insisting that Jews need to disappear or die. Some say it bluntly, some cloak it in the language of progress. But I am a Jew because I know there is a force far greater than that. And that is the force of who we are and of our world-changing ideas. The Jewish people were not put on earth to be anti-Semites. We were put on earth to be Jews. We are the people whose God never slumbers or sleeps, and so neither can we. We are the lamplighters. We are the Maccabees. We are the ever-dying people who refuses to die. The people of Israel lives now, and we live forever. Am Yisrael Chai.